An Oboro team doing 650 million plus damage on brutal difficulty Hydra. It's absolutely unheard of, guys, except for today's video where Oboro did 314 million of this damage. Hydra brutal, which leaves me about 2 billion Hydra Clash points, whereas before, when I did the hard mode difficulty of this team, I got about 1.5 billion, which is still amazing, and the hard mode team is awesome, but there's only a few small changes since that video that make this entirely worth it. Now, this entire video stems from this post right here. Essentially, should I buy it? 6-star Oboro soul. And a lot of the comments, understandably so, were saying, no, don't do that. It's worth skipping. There's no reason to actually have it. It's not worth it, too expensive. Well, it ended up being one of the best purchases as far as in the clan shop that I've done, the soul shop that I've done, because this opens up brutal difficulty with this team. It allows me to have stronger champions in nightmare difficulty. And now for hard mode, I can actually use my Trunda team that was being kind of blocked because of champions I was using in nightmare. But today, I want to go through and show you guys how my Oboro is hitting for some absolutely insane numbers and how you can get your setup to hopefully do something very similar. Let's see some decapitated heads here. Watch when Mikage takes a turn. Oboro hits for 443,000 damage on that far right head and then 476,000 on that far left. I've actually seen her hit to 700,000 damage before, which is absolutely crazy. On brutal difficulty, it's such incredibly high numbers. So here we go. Some more 400,000 numbers. 713,000 over there. Did you see that? Let me rewind that just a little bit. One time, let's see what it says. 713,000 damage over there. Okay, give me a few more seconds to actually get this around to it. But okay, we got 454, and I think it's the next Mikage hit where it goes to 713,000 damage, guys. This is some crazy Oboro damage. And how I've gotten that to work now is by getting pure damage. So we're doing true damage on the Hydra heads from a few different areas. One, 20% Great Hall bonus defense ignore. So I got my Hydra defense ignore fully maxed out. We got 30% defense ignore from the Slayer set. We have 29.5% defense ignore from Crushing Rend because we have it 6-star Crushing Rend. 5-star Crushing Rend, not worth it. It's not going to work the same. 6-star Crushing Rend ignores 1% for every 10 levels, and that's every time you hit. So this becomes amazing. And on Brutal, the Hydra heads are level 295, meaning I'm getting 29.5% defense ignore. And without Helm Smasher procs, that's going to be about 80% defense ignore. When Helm Smasher does proc, it's going to be 104.5% defense ignore, which it's not going to help having that 4.5% over. So if you have to, drop some Great Hall bonuses down, I think you can go to level 8 and still be fine because level 8 would be 4% difference. So you should be able to go down there and still have 100% defense ignore. So if you're somebody who's still working on your area bonuses, that's okay. Just go to level 8 and you're going to be perfectly fine. You're going to have none of that overshoot, which makes no difference anyways to begin with. So that's how I'm getting those crazy high numbers. Now, the next thing past that is how am I actually surviving? Because the biggest issue that I was having with the Oboro team before was when the Head of Wrath comes out. Let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. When the Head of Wrath comes out, there are times where that head gets the 15 stacks from this green stuff after you hit him, plus does his AoE skill where he just wipes Oboro out. I changed one thing, and that allowed Oboro in the first run to survive the entire times. For, I guess, reference, I had ran Oboro in a previous build at least 4 or 5 times, and every single time she would be wiped by the Head of Wrath in very similar situations. So this having succeeded on the very first time makes me very comfortable in saying that, hey, this team is going to be very friendly to run, relatively easy. I did turn it off auto a few times, which speaking of, guys, I'm actually going to upload this video to a unlisted video, and I'll leave it linked down below in case you guys want to watch the Hydra replay. You're welcome to. I just don't want to post an hour-long Hydra run in this video and make it look like it's, 2-hour-long video, when in reality, the video hopefully is not nearly that long. So I will link that over there. Also, if you enjoy this content, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of good stuff. Also, drop a comment down below. But besides that, the Head of Wrath is something you really got to worry about. So the change that I made to make her survive the Head of Wrath nukes was a pretty simple one. Just a Blood Shield ring. So Blood Shield ring specifically with HP on it. Previously, I was using this Blood Shield ring, which gives me 4,000 less HP, but it gives me about 400 more attack, which is a great difference in attack. However, this was making the difference between surviving and not. Now, the Blood Shield effect is giving me a 5% shield based on the damage that I deal, which is definitely helpful because she does a lot of damage. However, If you don't have Blood Shield accessories, you should be able to go ahead and equip just some HP stuff, some defense stuff, and still be able to survive the Head of Wrath. And if not, maybe you can try to get some Blood Shield stuff. And if you can't, well, maybe you can just drop it back down to hard. But ultimately, the Blood Shield ring is what made the difference between me wiping and me being able to survive. Now, which that does bring up one potential issue, and that's if you're going for the 9-piece Slayer bonus, then you're not going to be able to have the Blood Shield accessory. So you got to kind of weigh out your options, but the 9-piece Slayer bonus would be pretty sick, and I really want to get that going. Either way, let's look at her build, let's look at the other champion builds, and then I want to jump and talk about the presets and why each champion is where they're at. So for Oboro, this is her weapon, helmet, shield, gloves, 5-star gloves, good ascension, chestplate, good ascension, boots, good stats as well. Now for her, as low a speed as possible. She does not matter about taking turns. It only matters that Mikage is using her A1 and her A3 to get Oboro to take turns. So Oboro speed, if it was 100 speed, that'd be better than what it is now because you want as few turns as possible, meaning Relentless sets only have it on champions where every single turn they take is valuable. You don't want to have a ton of Relentless. You don't want to be extremely fast on some champions. And if your Oboro can be slow, and you can add a few extra turns to her over the course of the entire Hydra match, well, that's going to be an extra couple million damage because she hits for about 1 million damage each time she does an AoE, actually well over 1 million depending on how the heads are decapitated. So any extra turns on her is going to be fantastic. That's her setup, her ring, her necklace, and then her banner. So I got a little bit more attack I can squeeze out, but ultimately the damage should be relatively similar. Now, as far as her skills, the A1's the only thing I care about. Now, when you do this run, you do have to do some manual targeting because if you click heads that only have like two debuffs up on them, well, they're not going to have any AoE effect happening because her A1 attacks all enemies if the target is under 4 or more debuffs. So when doing this, I judge a few things. One, I want to make sure the head is under 4 or more debuffs. That's the most important thing. And then number 2, ideally, I target heads that some Wukong isn't going to be weak affinity to. Unlike right here, he's weak affinity to this head. So we could weak hit, which could be shaving off 1 million damage plus each time he hits because that A2 ability hits extremely hard. And also, I want to make sure Inquisitor Shamael is going to be able to do a lot of damage to the head as well. So ideally, it's going to be a Force or possibly Spirit affinity head that I'm targeting, and it's going to have decreased defense and weaken as well applied, plus the 4 debuffs. That's the perfect situation. So then some Wukong is strong, everybody's doing good damage, and the situation just works out perfectly, honestly. That's Oboro. That's the targeting with Oboro. Her A2 and her A3 are turned off. The A3, while it looks enticing, having crit rate sounds good. One time it gets stolen by the Head of Mischief. Well, now all of a sudden you're running 70% crit rate and you're getting no benefits from it. So with Oboro running so slow, she's not going to get many turns, even with the Slayer stuff popping off. So having this ability turned on is just useless, I believe. And then the A2 also just useless. We only want that A1 ability turned on. Anything else is wasting millions of damage essentially. And then our masteries, we have Helm Smasher because I need for this to proc. Every time this procs, it's a 100% defense ignore. It's absolutely incredible. So that is Oboro. Now, the next most important champion in this team is Lady Mikage. Now, since the previous video, I believe I changed Mikage's masteries to actually do some damage, and she ended up doing, let's see, how much damage did Mikage do? Hopefully a decent amount. We're going to find out in just a moment, though. But now I have her with War Master, whereas before, I actually had her, I think, in Eagle Eye for the arena, but I basically dedicated her build 100% to Hydra, and having War Master helps her stay alive because of the hits onto heads with Leech, with the War Master proc, is just like the clan boss days where you'd put War Master on champions and lifesteal gear. They hit the clan boss and now they heal for a ton. It's the same thing here. We have War Master hitting into Leech, we get big heals. Mikage did 21 million damage, not anything crazy, but it's definitely far better than what she did before, which is pretty low. As far as her artifacts go, I mentioned before, do not have Relentless except on champions whose every turn is valuable, whereas Mikage. So Mikage has Relentless plus Merciless. So basically she has a chance of getting an extra turn, but she also has a chance to decrease a random skill's cooldown when dealing damage. So every time she goes, she has a chance to either use her A1 or her A3. I turn off the A2. The A2 could be good if you want to do a little bit more manual play, but if you're not very interested in doing manual stuff, then just turn off the A2. So you know that every single time she goes, she's either having Oboro join in to her attack, meaning an AoE attack, or everybody's joining into her attack and they're getting increased attack and increased crit damage. So she's keeping up the buffs the entire time. Oboro's joining in every single time Mikage goes. So every turn Mikage gets, it's going to be an extra chunk of damage from Oboro. So with her gear, it's pretty good. I got pretty lucky with the Merciless. I got pretty lucky with the Relentless on her, but she's fast. She's somewhat tanky just because of how the cookie crumbled, I guess. The pieces landed. She ended up being relatively tanky, which is great. If you can make her tanky, it's all the better, right? The faster you can get her, the more accuracy you can get her. If you can make her viable in other areas as well, that's perfect. So for mine, 77,000 HP, 3,300 defense, 319 speed, which if you go to Hydra specifically, it's going to be a little bit higher. So I actually have 12 speed bonuses in Hydra. But in general, if I could get her crit rate to 100%, that'd be so much better. However, I really don't have the ability to do that just yet, so I'm not really that worried about that. But Mikage, I think in Reflex, Relentless, Merciless, all those sets are going to be absolutely incredible because you're going to be continually using that A1 ability, getting Oboro to join in the attack, which makes your damage so significantly different. So that's my Mikage build. These are her masteries. War Master for some extra damage. Up next, we have Lydia. So this is where things get a little bit weird. So you have Lydia, Wukong, Nekmo, and then I think one other champion who may be in the vault. Nope, I guess, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Who else do I have in the team? I literally just went blank. Oh, Inquisitor Shamael. Inquisitor Shamael's the last champion, I guess. So Lydia, when you look at this team, you think, okay, this team doesn't have much protection. They don't have a provoke champion. They have no hex. How's this team actually working? Well, this is how the team's working. So we have provoke set on Lydia. Lydia's provoke set, she's built to do a little bit of damage. She doesn't end up doing a ton, unfortunately, because it's just provoke. And I mean, I could build her for more crit damage, but for now, this is the best that I could have her in. She has 70,000 HP, very good speed, 100% crit rate, and very good accuracy, which is the most important stuff. As far as her actual pieces go, we have perception plus provoke. You don't need that much accuracy for Brutal Hydra, but I did want enough to consistently land my debuffs, of course. And Lydia is so important in this team. She's also very important in Trenda teams, which I got to determine who I want to keep and who I want to let go of. But essentially what she's bringing is the increased speed, which is super valuable. Nekmo also brings that. She's bringing Strengthen. Nobody else brings that. Strengthen is so helpful for when the Head of Wrath comes out, does the big smack. My team actually has a much better chance of actually surviving. So having Lydia on the team is so good. But even more so than that, the decreased defense and weaken, it's very hard to replace this with any other champion. I have Venus, the only other champion who can do this on my account, but she doesn't bring Strengthen. The increased speed doesn't really matter because the increased speed is already covered by Nekmo, but the Strengthen does matter a lot. I do believe. I might try it without Lydia because I really want to get Lydia over into the Trenda team, but I think Venus is the only other champion I have. If you have Venus, maybe you could throw her in there. Maybe even throw her in. Well, probably actually definitely throw her in there with a provoke set. She does bring an HP burn, so she may do a little bit more damage. And she also does 2 AoE skills, so her provoke would actually be more consistent, but she drops off the strengthen, which if we look at Oboro, when she gets hit, she has strengthen up, I'd say, majority of the match. Right there, it's actually off because the Head of Mischief stole it, but I want to see if she ever gets hit with no strengthen applied. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to test it. And I'll probably post a community tab post if it actually works out. But the biggest worry for me is this Head of Wrath hitting my champions with no strength and especially. Let's see. Okay, so I guess maybe gets a turn. I can't tell. 6, so 7 there. Okay, so I did get a turn. No strengthens applied right now. The Head of Wrath may do a hit. Hopefully it does. So we actually survived that pretty decent. The Blood Shield may make all the difference. That Blood Shield accessory is actually giving me a pretty massive shield. So both those hits were with no weaken. It does have decreased attack. So, sorry, no strengthen. So maybe I actually drop Lydia, throw in Venus in her spot so that I can still have the decreased defense and weaken. Lydia goes to my Trenda team, and then I have actually a better provoke champion in Venus because Venus is going to do 2 AoE attacks, the A3 as well as the A2. Also Venus, very low cooldowns as well anyways. So if I go to her, I may actually try that out because I really want Lydia in my Trenda team. And I don't know. I'll probably make the switch. Plus, Venus is a 4-star awakened, which is pretty good as well. So 3-turn cooldown, same as Lydia's, and a 4-turn cooldown on the burns. She has some poisons as well, which I don't really need, but maybe it could help me with getting the debuff stacked up a little bit quicker. Either way, let's go back to the champions I was using, which Lydia, let's look at her gear. So I think I clicked through everything, the boots, the pieces, yeah, we're good there. Her skills fully booked. She has Brimstone because, to be honest, Brimstone's nice to have. If Brimstone lands and it activates, it's going to be an extra chunk of damage that maybe wouldn't have been there otherwise, and there's not really anything else that I need. Now with Venus, I may actually go Cruelty, but I'll deal with that once I get there. But as far as the masteries go, these are her mastery setups. And then let's talk about Sun Wukong. So Sun Wukong is basically just an arena build, but he's in an arena build that has accuracy, enough accuracy to apply his debuffs to the Hydra. Now you'll notice that Mikage is in the lead spot. It's very, very important. I'll talk about that once we get into the team presets and the positioning. So this is Sun Wukong's build. Very good damage, good speed, good crit damage, good accuracy. Defense ignore stuff. He unfortunately is not ignoring all the defense. If he got to 6-star Crushing Rend, he would be doing pure damage, but for now, he's not. However, this monkey can smack. So if you see him do his A2 ever, let's see if I can do it on a head that's decapitated or something. So there we go. We actually just now did it. So his A2 is about to pop off on this head, I bet. Actually, no. It's going to pop off on a different head. But let's see how much damage he does. So he hits it there. He does like 200,000 damage a lot of times, 366,000 damage on a non-decapitated head. I've seen him do over 1.2 million damage from that A2 ability on a decapitated head. So definitely a champion worth having some very good damage dealing gear on. So as far as his actual gear goes, we have 5-star piece there. So some 5-star pieces scattered throughout this team, and it still does some pretty crazy damage in my opinion. And then his boots, we have the bottom row accessories. So very good ring, actually. I forgot I had that. Triple roll there, and then some speed and accuracy there. Of course, we can make him with more attack, but for now, this is fine. The Soul Reap is actually really nice to have on him because it does come in play relatively often. For masteries, we have Helm Smasher. Now, it is important to have him going pretty fast because the other head that can mess up the run is the head of the Toxic Cloud head, whatever that one is, the one that comes head of Blight. When it comes out, it places a poison cloud and your damage stalls very hard. Also, if the Head of Mischief steals some buffs, which it probably will, eventually, you want to be able to strip those as soon as possible, and you want to make sure to be able to continually apply block buffs to the Head of Wrath as often as possible, because if the Head of Wrath gets increased attack plus a reflect damage, that's when Oboro gets a little bit in a risky situation. And then we have Nekmo. So Nekmo is our curse champion. You have to have a curse set champion in the team. Like, there's really no way around it. You have to have somebody in curse set. If not, your damage is going to be so much smaller. You can literally see from Nekmo how much damage he deals at the end that you need curse set. So he does 123 million damage. You know where this is coming from? This is coming from the Hex effects, essentially, because there's no way Nekmo is doing nearly that much damage. He's doing more than Sun Wukong, which is definitely not the case, but having all that damage built up is attributed to him from the Hex set. It's so much required to have a Hex set if you want to push high damage. So for his curse set, we have it 100% crit rate, a little bit of crit damage. I'd like to add some more, but for now, this is going to be fine. Now, I actually also have a Slayer set alongside this. Is a Slayer set needed? Probably not, honestly. It's giving him more turns, technically, than what I may want him to have, but I have it on him for now because it does make his speed stay up. I do need him to take a lot of turns. An extra 5% turn meter hopefully isn't going to attribute to a ton more turns. I could always drop it off and see how he performs without it on because he brings extremely valuable stuff. Everything he has is super valuable. So every time he goes, he's bringing something valuable to the team, whether it's Hex, decreased attack, decreased speed and leech, or the increased speed and the turn meter boost. So everything he has is super valuable. So having him go is actually one of those situations where every turn he takes, he's doing something valuable, period. But once again, you don't want him in Relentless because he's just taking way too many turns in that situation. So as far as the skills, everything's fully booked. We have Cruelty on him, which if you had a high Cruelty blessing, it'd be so good because you'd have a ton of defense being dropped on the boss. Not the same as defense ignore though. And then his masteries, we have War Master and all that kind of stuff set up. So last, my Inquisitor Shamael. This dude got a rebuild since last time, and it actually made a pretty big difference. So I actually have him in lifesteal. You don't often see champions in lifesteal gear, especially not higher in the game. But the reason why he's in lifesteal is because there were times where I would be hitting a head and it wouldn't have leech on it. And Inquisitor Shamael will be low HP. He's the other champion who you really can't have die because if he dies, well, the Head of Torment is no longer going to be answered for, essentially. So I put him in lifesteal so that he can make sure every time he hits a head, whether it's counterattacking specifically on the head of Wrath, the head of Blight, the one that does a bunch of poisons, whatever he's doing, if he's counterattacking heads, especially if they have reflect damage, there's been times where he would just die because of his counterattack damage being added up. He'd be low HP and then he just die. So now with the lifesteal set on him, he can counterattack. He's going to be fine. He's going to be healing very similar to the damage being dealt, and he's just going to recover his stuff. So with leech, with lifesteal, very solid. You don't need defense ignore stuff with him because his A2 ignores 25% of the target's defense to begin with, and then an additional 25% for each buff on this champion. So as long as you have 3 buffs, you're going to be ignoring 100% defense anyways. So it's going to be pure damage all the time, no matter what. So lifesteal, I think, is probably the best bet for him. It just makes the run so much safer for me. And then as far as his blessings, if I got 6-star, it'd probably be Phantom Touch. And honestly, right now, I may even go Phantom Touch anyways, because Cruelty isn't doing a ton. It's really just dropping the defense of the Head of Torment more than anything, because the Head of Torment is the one he attacks the most. So I may actually switch this over to Phantom Touch and give him a little bit more damage in general. It's actually probably the best plan to do. As far as his artifacts, I'll click through here real quick. So I gotta make a little champion space real quick. Let's go to rank. Let's go feed somebody. Oh my goodness, why can't I? Okay, so rank, boom, and there we go. So come over here to Inquisitor Shamael and get him in my inventory so you guys can actually see his build. So Shamael to inventory, and here we go. So the A1, the weapon, the helmet, the shield. We have a crit damage set, because as much crit damage as I can get is the thing you really want to go for. That's it. Let's get some crit damage ascension on this. Oh, sweet. Got some crit damage ascension. Very nice. So now we got a little more crit damage for next time. This is very good. And this attack percentage would be pretty sweet. Do it again. Okay, defense percentage, that's okay. I'll keep it for now. I have no dust anyways. So we have defense, even though this would be better with crit damage probably. I think I can survive fine, where crit damage would actually be acceptable for him. Getting him more crit damage so he hits harder will boost this damage up for sure. And I do want to make these small changes to make the team do 700 million plus damage. I would love to hit as high damage as possible. So Inquisitor Shamael's masteries are right here. Now it's been all the breakdown of the champions. Let's talk about the actual team setup and the team order, because it's actually very important. So as far as the team setup and team order and everything goes, this is what I have. Now this may not be the same setup as in the video, because in the video, I actually deleted this team by accident and put it back in there. But as far as the presets go, Mikage, never metamorphosis. We always use the A3 when we can, and the A1. The A2 turned off, so it's a very simple kit right here. Lydia, prioritize the A2. Nekmo, 1 and 2. So Wukong. This, while it doesn't do as most damage, it is the most important skill in this kit, because this does the most important effect and steals buffs as well. Oboro, like I said, uses only the A1 ability, and Inquisitor Shamael, the A2 as well. So with the team setup, you may think, okay, well, Oboro's doing the most damage. Let's have her in the front because she's getting boosted by Inquisitor Shamael. You don't want that. So while Mikage's aura may not be needed, having her boosted by Inquisitor Shamael is very much needed. So whenever the Head of Torment places the fear, after you attack it, Inquisitor Shamael is going to cleanse it and then boost Lady Mikage, meaning she is going to get so many turns. The Energizer Bunny wouldn't even be able to keep up. So she's getting an insane amount of turns, essentially. I'll jump in here and show you guys real quick what happens. But all in all, it's just so many turns from Mikage. It's crazy. And just keep going and going and going and going, and you're going to be fine. So right here, we have 4 debuffs on this boss, this head on the far left. 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. Obviously, if I use Oboro, turn off auto, you can see there it was an AoE attack. But if I was to take her and, you know, hit this head right here with Mikage or Oboro, it's just going to be, actually no, they're all four debuffs now. So if you have Hex set on Nekmo, you're going to get Hex on most of the heads pretty quickly. If you have your Provoke on Lydia, honestly, I kind of want to go with Venus and try her out. But if you have your Provoke sets, you're going to get that stuff done pretty quickly as well. All in all, you're going to have 4 debuffs up majority of the time on most of the heads. It's pretty easy to keep. The biggest thing is whenever the Head of Decay pops out and it cleanses everything, then it gets a little bit rough, of course. But this setup, is this a different Hydra difficulty? I think it's a different Hydra rotation, actually. I think I did rotation 1, and this is rotation 2. Yeah, it's going to be fine. This team works fine on all rotations. The only difference is that the order of the heads, which this rotation is actually better order of heads, because now I'm able to get rid of the Head of Wrath a little bit quicker if I wanted to. It doesn't really matter. The Head of Decay is not here, so Provoke's not as important to land at the very first. Wukong is weak to the Head of Wrath this time, but if we get Inquisitor Shamael to hit harder, it's going to be perfectly fine. Not going to be a single worry in the world, essentially. Now, with Inquisitor Shamael, if you're able to get the, I guess, Bloodthirst set, that would be really good. It's a better lifesteal set, essentially. I haven't farmed much of that, so I don't have very much of it, but if you're able to get it, that's going to be the best case scenario. We're doing some great damage. The head over here is going to hit pretty hard, I bet, but he has decreased attack. I want to see if I was able to get Oboro with no strengthen. how much damage he would deal, but we already know he's not going to one-shot her. So I'm going to have to switch out Lydia for Venus and try her out there, see how it actually plays out. Just because I really want Lydia in my Trenda team. I don't have a great substitution for her. I could think of one, but the easier way is to just not worry about that and just drop Lydia from here and switch her out. So everything was stolen. Let's see what the Head of Wrath hits for. So it's pretty good, 15,000. If he had no decreased attack, it may have been a pretty nasty chunk, but the counterattack, full HP again, plus a little bit of a shield. So now he's about to do his actual AoE skill with the provoke and everything. Let's see what he does here. So everything's blocked, of course. We'll do the A2, should get some damage. 400,000, pretty crazy stuff. Now the Head of Wrath about to go. We still have no strength on me. Boom, hits for 14,000. So not horrible. Still 50% HP. Everybody's good. If some Wukong dies, it's fine. I don't care about him dying because he's just gonna come back anyways. And we got a little bit of a blood shield there. So I am gonna try to switch out Lydia, but this is the team that I recommend. It's gonna be the easier version. The Venus version, maybe a little more tricky. Not really sure, but you guys can try it out if you want as well. But either way, guys, this team, I'm very proud of this team, honestly. Very happy with the results of it. I think it's pretty awesome. Brutal team, basically full auto. In this video, you will notice I did turn it off of full auto. It's still very auto heavy, but there were some times where I turned it off of auto to manual Mikage's A2 skill, even though it's really not needed, honestly. You don't need to manual that skill. I did it to drop some of the poisons off, but the poisons were already basically dropped anyway. So to be honest, this team, you could run it on full auto. It's gonna be fine. Just, you do have to be around it because you do have to click the heads. So if every now and then you have to turn it off auto to adjust something, that's gonna be okay. If you click the heads, you can get the best damage. You could do it walk away full auto with no clicking of the heads, but then you come in the risk of, okay, well, maybe I'm not targeting a head with 4 debuffs and not getting the maximum Mikage damage. Either way, guys, that's gonna wrap this video up. So jump in here, build this team, try it out. The champion builds are all here, all the gearing, everything. I'd say it's a relatively accessible team, hopefully, for you guys. Hopefully you can get something to work. I am gonna fix Inquisitor Shamael without a doubt. Like, definitely gonna make him hit harder than before, harder than what he was doing. Kind of want Cardiel's necklace, honestly. I don't think I even use Cardiel anymore. I need a necklace that has crit damage on it. Crit damage ascension. There we go. Well, I don't really want to take Venus's necessarily, but she's about to get rebuilt anyway, so I will take this over, put it on Inquisitor Shamael, extra 42% crit damage. It's going to be a good chunk of damage boosted, and then come over to his skills. Swap this out for Phantom Touch, chance of inflicting bonus damage, 30% chance, so yeah. I'm going to go this because he does so much damage as it is. It scales based on your attack anyways, Phantom Touch does. So now just having that much more is really going to, I think, help his damage be so much higher. Doesn't have a ton of attack. I like for him to have more. But ultimately, the main goal is to make him survive. It's the most important thing. And then from there, just doing as much damage as possible. So really, I could actually take this and make it an attack. Let's see if we have with speed. Gain 300 attack there. I lose some defense, so I'll have to play around with some stuff, see how I actually want to run this. But I do want him to have a lot of attack, and I want him to do a lot of damage because he does some good damage. Like, this build was before I can't pull up the video now, but he had done a good chunk of damage. He's probably like the second highest damage dealer on the team, with some Wukong maybe very close. Either way, guys, enough rambling here. This video's been long enough, about 30-minute video, so I hope you guys enjoy it. Hopefully you learned something from it, and hopefully you can go out and build your Oboro team with a 6-star Oboro. If you've been looking for how to build her, this is the way. I think Blood Shield Ring is just the best way to go for her. It makes her so much more survivable. Unfortunately, it combats with the 9-piece Slayer that I was really looking forward to doing as well. So whenever I get 9-piece Slayer, I'll test out the differences. But for now, this is my team. And yeah, I'm really liking the results so far. So guys, best of luck to you. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one.